What is rock? What is metal? No, you haven't stumbled onto a geophysics channel by mistake. I'm being vaguely deep and mysterious. Work with me here a little bit. People have argued since time immemorial as to where the line is between rock and roll and heavy metal. Some bands are so far to one side that there can be no debates as to where it lands. And then there's this new one from UK solo recording artist Ben Jones, better known as Orion in the online music space, which really does straddle the lines between genres in the best and most enticing fashion. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, my name is Ian, this is Rhyme Signatures, and we are once again opening the lid on the best new releases in prog rock and metal. I remember Ben's work coming to my attention last August with his ambitious sophomore album of The Lightbringers. And the limited time I got to spend with it, curse this self-inflicted side hustle and the lack of hours in the day to listen to everything, spoke to me of an artist with a lot to say and with the means and tools with which to say it in a loud, full, sonorous tone of voice. So here we are, almost precisely 1 year later, and despite the financial protestations in the liner notes of the aforementioned album, we are now entertaining Ben's third studio album. And it's a fabulous little thing that I'm delighted to have been able to give the full attention it deserves this time around. You know, there really is something to be said about exploring the smaller, independent artists within this genre. I mean, it's all great fun and all listening to and reviewing the bigger bands and more veteran solo acts, but when all is said and done, you kind of get the idea that those bands and people are going to be giving you exactly what you're expecting, for better or for worse. It is the indie artists who are the ones who will consistently surprise you, the ones who are scrappy and hungry for what we, the audience, give back to them. There's a greater love for the art clearly present in what they put out, and this is especially true of Into Darkness. Ben's new album came to my attention from longtime friend of the channel, Matt Dolmage from the band Versa, who has recorded some rather delightful flutes on this album. And quite frankly, when Matt says jump, I find myself often responding with how high, as there are some of you out there who just get me, and Matt is certainly one such person. Consequently, I've had access to this record for a few weeks now, and having spent quite a bit of time getting very familiar with it, I guess I can finally answer the question. Is this a prog rock album, or is this a prog metal album? Yes. So obviously, one thing that prog music tends to suffer from a lot of, especially nowadays when we aren't technically constrained to the data limitations on physical media, is bloat. There's either too many songs on the album that don't really justify their inclusion, or every single song is just too damn long, with endless musical masturbation going on, normally just for the sake of saying, ooh, look at me, I'm really great at guitar. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this kind of bloat from time to time. When all is said and done, though, I do prefer a meaner, leaner, more streamlined and focused experience, which is exactly what we have here on Into Darkness. There is a solid 7 tracks across 41 minutes of music, and consequently there is almost zero excess here. Everything is tight, everything is here for a purpose and never hangs around for any longer than it needs to. And it makes for an album that is incredibly easy to enjoy as casually or as seriously as you want. Its brevity rewards repeated listens, which in turn makes it easier for the songs to stick with you, to get etched onto your brain in a much shorter space of time. I mean, I'm all for 2-hour-long double discers, sure, but it's the shorter albums like Into Darkness that I remember more, that last with me long after the final track has been played out. And honestly, Ben's songwriting here is absolutely on point. There is not a single moment wasted, but similarly, it doesn't feel like he's cutting out the world building, as it were. This isn't an album that's continuously trying to cut the chit-chat and get to the point. It's just incredibly good at telling the stories that it needs to. From the opening number of A Father's Love, you're given a great indication of what you can expect from this album. There's a constant teetering between Rush-like progressive rock and more modern metal akin to the likes of Vola or even Leprous in places. And it is deeply impressive how well Ben walks this tightrope of extremities, managing to find the perfect balance between the more accessible lighter rock moments against some frankly stank-faced riffing in parts. And we're not just left alone on this tightrope with the war between rock and metal. There's even space for some pure 80s nostalgia as found on second track of Someday, and some truly epic orchestrations rearing their heads on the final song of Bleeding Hearts. And that's just another arrow in this album's already impressive quiver. It doesn't crutch on these elements either, which I feel is a mistake that is so often made by a lot of artists who so often come a cropper of the too much of a good thing idea. Into Darkness handles the accenting elements perfectly. It never lets the novelty of them overtake or overpower the core rock and metal that guides the record from start to finish. And just as you shouldn't overseason your steak, Ben doesn't overseason this album, and it makes it a beautifully balanced, extremely addictive experience as a result. I mean, okay, sure, I do like it when an artist branches out a little and cuts loose with some absolute lunacy in the middle of the record. Lord knows I love weird segues like Bloom from Between the Buried and Me's Parallax 2, or more recently the absolute insanity of Country Song in Reverse by the Callous Cowboys. So, I don't know, maybe I would have enjoyed this kind of handbrake turn to feature on Into Darkness, but, I get the feeling from the music on here that this kind of angular interlude wouldn't tailor itself well around Ben's style or songwriting, so maybe hoping for this might have ended up being a be careful what you wish for moment. But, frankly, when we get the theatrical and epic-sounding final two-part title track consisting of 13 minutes of some of the boldest and most interesting music to come out this year, especially the latter half, which absolutely brings to uncontrollable man tears, I can hardly complain. If I was to pick any fault with the album, I don't know, I guess it would kind of boil down to the vocals, but this isn't to say that Ben's voice is bad or even a weak link. It's just that his particular delivery isn't what I personally gravitate towards. I enjoy big, dynamic, booming growls or soaring operatic falsetto shrieks. I'm a man of extremes vocally, so my critique of Ben's singing voice and style isn't one of, oh, he can't sing, but more one of, he doesn't sing in a register that hits my own very specific particulars. There's a gravelly 90s alt-rock tinge to his delivery, which I can imagine will tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people, but for me, they are largely functional rather than head-turning. They do fit the vibe of the music very well, though, and his lyricism is particularly good, managing to serve the interests of cultural observation and critique without ever falling into that dangerous trap of old man yelling at clouds, which is in and of itself worth lauding over. So, what else can I possibly say about Orion's Into Darkness? It's been a funny past 12 months for Ben Jones, especially earlier this year with the whole Hugh Syme drama and the reusing of artwork that had previously been for Ben that somehow found its way into the latest Dream Theater album's liner notes. But perhaps this is the perfect time for this album to come out. This is Ben's opportunity to show the world what his music is capable of, and quite frankly, if you put a copy of Parasomnia and Into Darkness in front of me, the former's getting glossed over in favour of the latter every single time. I mean, yes, I've given my opinions over the vocals, but honestly that really is down to just personal preferences. But I cannot deny how strong the overall musicality of this album is. The bass work is especially meaty, giving me plenty to grab onto. The solo on the ant is basically the best bass solo of the year so far, and Ben certainly knows how to write a catchy riff or two, as there are parts of this record that have been living rent-free in my head for weeks now. I will continue to champion smaller, independent artists on this channel, and Jones's Orion stands tall as one of the best of the bunch this year, in a year that's seen lots of unsigned bands curry very good favour with me. I would absolutely recommend grabbing a copy of this one on CD, guys. Ben is a passionate artist with a knack for tight, razor-sharp songwriting, having crafted a small but perfectly formed beast with Into Darkness. And selfishly, I really want him to make more music, so if enough of us buy the album, then that's a far more likely proposition. Please do not overlook this one, guys. The true spirit of the modern progressive rock scene is alive and well in this one, and as fans of this music, we need to celebrate this kind of forward-thinking passion for the art form. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion. The album comes out this Friday, 16th of August, so once you've given it a spin or two, if you loved it, if you hated it, please talk to me about your experiences with the album in the comments down below. Please do drop me a thumbs up if you like the video, please do tell your friends about little old me, and please do consider subscribing to the channel if you've been enjoying my content so far. But until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.